Hello, and welcome to the Back to School Night video. No, I'm not going to show this during Back to School Night, but if you couldn't make it to Back to School Night, here's the video. All right, so here's some of the things that I want to talk about. First, a lot of parents are very particular about what class, their math class, their students are going to be in the next year. So there's two choices. If you're in Math 6, if your student is in Math 6, they could either go to Accelerated Math 7 or Math 7. To get into Accelerated Math 7, they have to have both a 90 or higher for a final grade for the class, or they have to have departmental exam averages of 80 or higher, and those I'll talk about later. If either of those is below 90 or below 80, then they go into Math 7. Almost all the Math 6 students make it into Math 7. Very few get to Accelerated Math 7. But we'll see how it turns out this year. If your child is in Accelerated Math 7, they have three choices: Honors Algebra 1, Accelerated Math 7, or Math 7. This should say Honors Algebra 1, and it doesn't, so let me fix that. This should say 1. Okay. Now, I do not recommend that they take Honors Algebra 1 because that's too much of a leap, skipping all of the Math 7 curriculum. That would be going into a 9th grade level class. That would be skipping 7th and 8th grade. However, if a student has a final grade of 95 or higher and a departmental exam average of 95 or higher, then I will put them into Honors Algebra 1, but it takes a lot of extra work in order to do well there. If they have an 80 or higher for a final grade and an exam grade of 75 or higher, I will put them into Accelerated Math 7. Most of our Accelerated Math 6 students will go into Accelerated Math 7, but not all. You have usually 2 or 3 every year who do not meet these criteria. Again, they have to meet both of them. If they don't meet both of them, then they will go into Math 7. Okay, so that's it. We have several ways of determining their grades this year. We have traditional assessments, which is tests which are 50% of their grade. We should have 1 or 2 per month. They are eligible for a retake, and I will keep the better score. So that means if they take a test and they do poorly on it, worse than they think they should have, they can contact me asking for a retake, and I'll tell them about that later on in the school year after we had a test. And if I like what they ask, then I will give them a retake on the test, and I will keep the better score. If a student is absent on the day of a test, that student must do a retake. And if they score a 90 or higher on the first time they take it, I'm going to give them a little prize. I give it to them at the end of the day so that they don't cause trouble with it. It's just something to recommend, something to shoot for. We also will have quizzes. We have not yet had a quiz because I'm following the Desmos curriculum and it doesn't have quizzes as frequently. I think that I'm going to start putting in more frequent quizzes. I'd like to have one every week, but I'll work up to that. Our first quiz is not going to be this week, but it will be next week. It includes a regular assessment of current material. Quizzes cannot be retaken because they're only 10% of the overall grade, and there's going to be about 8 to 10 of them, so each one is only worth about 1% of the overall grade. There is no retakes of quizzes, and so they should, however, be used for self-assessment. If they take a quiz and they do poorly on it, that should tell the student, hey, here's something I'm having trouble with. I'd better study it before we have a test. Our first quiz will be on area, and that's it. It's coming up, area of triangles and parallelograms in particular. It's not going to be this week. We also may have projects. Now, I personally do not like projects that go home, but I could be convinced that I'm wrong. We will have a small project. If we have it, it will be during the school day, and it will be worth 15% of their overall grade. And it's not just one grade. It will be a grade for each part of the project, and it will be a score of, have to be completed completely, and I will accept parts of it late if they have to. Almost every day we have in-class activities, and they are worth 10% of their overall grade. Activities should be submitted on student.desmos.com. There's no submission button. They just have to complete everything. If your child does not have an iPad, I will provide a paper guide, but Desmos is definitely preferred. There's some interactivity on it, and if it's on paper, they don't get that interactivity, so that's a loss. Make sure everyone gets their iPads and make sure they don't break them so they don't have to be repaired, and that they have them every day in class so we can work on the activities. They may be completed late without penalty. When they get completed, I'm going to score them and I'm going to give feedback. On the feedback, I will say, this is incorrect, please correct it. I might give them some direction on how to correct it. If it's not done, I'll say, this is not done, please complete it, things like that. If they see it, they can complete it, they can correct it, and then I will change their score to 100. If it has a grade of 0 in Genesis or missing or anything less than 100, they should go back into Desmos and they should complete it and correct it. After I see that it's completed and corrected, I will change Genesis grade to 100. If a student is absent any day, they still must complete the activity as soon as they feel healthy enough to get it done. Now, I'll take any of these late without penalty. If I see that a student is constantly late with all of their work all the time, that means that student and I will have a discussion about, why are you always late, and see what's going on. All of these in-class activities will be graded either 100, meaning that they're all complete and correct, or a 0. But if they're scored a 0, that means that something needs to be corrected or completed. All they have to do is go back in, correct it and complete it, and I will change the score to 100. Help is always available during class or by Schoology message. And also, there's one other thing that I want to show you. In Schoology, it's organized by marking periods. This is marking period 1. This is week 3. And today we did the triangles and parallelograms unit. If you view attachment, you notice there's a link to a helpful video. That will take the student to my YouTube channel. And it links right there. In fact, the video that you're watching now comes from my YouTube channel. I just have to wait for this announcement. Here are the videos that I've made so far. You can tell that. If I hit videos, you can go back even further. All of the videos, if you notice, here's triangles and parallelograms right there. If the student wants some extra help, they can watch the video, but that's not the only place they can get extra help. They can also talk to me during class, send me a message on Schoology. I am very available for help. If I get enough students who are asking for help, I might start a Zoom meeting after school, but that's not a regular thing at this point. These are all ways of getting help. And remember, things can be done late, so it's not too late to ask for help. All right? Those are in-class activities. Almost every day we have an in-class activity. Sometimes the activities take 2 days to complete, but that's about it. After the activity is over, in class, we are going to be doing practices. If they do not finish the practice during class, then they must finish it for homework. This is the only source of homework for this class, is completing these practices. However, those practices will be completed during class mostly. You shouldn't ask if they have homework. You should ask to see their practices. At the end, every morning, I will take a look at their practices and I will make comments on them and show if anything is incomplete or incorrect. I will make comments helping them out. If you see on Genesis that there's a score of 0 and not 100, that means there's something they have to complete or correct, and they have to go in and fix them, and I will change it to a 100. At the end of the practices, the last slide tells them how they did. So if you look at this first slide, here is one student's first slide. And it says, correct, but then blank, which means they haven't done that question. This one is incomplete, so they've done part of it. This student has to go back to those first 3 slides and correct them and complete them. Once it says correct and complete for the whole thing, that's when they're finished. That's when they will get a 100 on it. Here's another example. By the way, the name that's up here, this is not the student's actual name. When I hit the anonymize button, it changes their names to the names of famous mathematicians throughout history. So they actually know their mathematician name, and no one else does. So it's a way of anonymizing them. If you notice, this student is incorrect, incorrect, incomplete, incorrect, incorrect, incorrect. This student has earned a 0 on this practice. However, all this student needs to do is go back in, correct the ones that need correcting, complete the ones that need completing, and again, help is available on those videos. It's available by sending me a Schoology message. It's available by asking me during class, and if they're in WIN class with me, they can ask during WIN class also. They just have to finish it, correct it, and complete it, and I will change the grade to 100. Here is an example. Again, another fake name. But if you notice, correct, completed, completed, correct, 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 completed, correct, and correct, those are perfect. This student has earned a 100 already. The last thing that we have, last or second to last thing that they have as part of the grade are learning targets. At the end of every unit of Desmos, so we're on Unit 1 now, at the end of Unit 1, at the end of Unit 2, there will be a learning target, and these are created by the district, and they must be completed on class, and there are no retakes, and the scores on these will be scored on rights and wrongs, and they are worth 5% of their overall grade. There's only one more thing that I want to talk about. That's calculators. They have a calculator available to them on Desmos, and it's a good calculator that they can use on Desmos. However, later in the year, I will want every student to have a scientific calculator. One of the good brands is Texas Instruments TI-34 is Multiview, is a good type of calculator for them to have. If a student cannot get a calculator, and I don't care why you can't get a calculator, no one's available to go to the store and purchase one, money's a little short right now, that often happened in my family, I don't care why. You don't have to tell me why. All you have to do is I just need to hear from the family, not the student. I just want a parent, somebody from the family, anyone else to write me a message and say, could you please give my little Johnny a calculator? And if I get that message from you on email, on Schoology message, just make sure that you say who you are. I will assign a school calculator to them, and it will be returned to me in June, and no problem. Okay? I think that's all that I have to say. If you still want to come to the back to school night, great. I'll see you then. Bye.